Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the finale of our Global Tech Connect UK Net Zero Energy Bootcamp for 2023. Thank you for coming this afternoon. My name is Hadar Huberman, and I lead the clean growth sector in the UK-Israel Tech Hub team, which is based at the British Embassy in Israel. We work to connect the British industry to Israel innovation. So I'm honored to be here today representing Global Tech Connect. You're here to be introduced to some of the startups in our recent cohort, foreign-based startups from Europe and Israel that are, we think, are ready to scale to the UK. And that's the underlining purpose of Global Tech Connect, where the alliance of UK-based bilateral programs for companies that we support them to scale to the UK in several sectors. We realized we can amplify the value each provides by working together in some areas. These sector-specific bootcamps like the one you're going to see today. I won't ask our Global Tech Connect partners to introduce themselves, but if you're here with us, if you could just stand up and say hi so we can all see you, and we'll be happy to engage. Damir, why don't you stand up and say hi? You're also with us. We'll be happy to engage with you after the session is over. So we're delighted to be here today at Innovation Zero. They were a great supporter of our bootcamp and have kindly offered to host us in this session today. In the front, we see our VC panel in a Dragon's Den format. Unfortunately, we had a last-minute cancellation by one of the participants, but we're going to have an additional force coming after the break. I'm very happy to have Jonathan from Clean Growth Fund and Hugh from the Green Angel Syndicate. Thank you for being with us today. I'm going to give you some time later on to introduce yourself. And thank you again for coming. Our format today should be very familiar to you. We're going to have 5 minutes pitch followed by 5 minutes Q&A. We're going to be quite strict on the timing, so startups, please be mindful. We're going to give you a 30 seconds heads up before your time is up, and then we're going to go to our panelists. Okay, so we have 10 startups presenting today, 7 from the cohort and 3 additional guests that came here, stepped in short notice due to some of the startups, original startups that couldn't participate in travel today. So thank you, Addionics, All Sites, and Renzer for being with us today. We encourage you to visit globaltechconnect.org/netzero and download the program of the bootcamp to learn more about the companies, as well as meet the 5 startups that couldn't join us, who include Battery, Economotor, Colbev, Offsetted, and Diesel. We've split our startup into 2 groups with 20 minutes break in between them. You're going to have 5 startups in the beginning, break, 5 startups in the end. We're going to finish the session at around 3:25 p.m., and we invite you to stay over and mingle, get to know our startup better and learn more about their products. And then we also encourage you to stay here for a high-impact 45 minutes facilitated networking session for startups and VCs, led by Juliet Devillard from Climate Connection. So that's all the information you need for me from today. So let me now invite our judges to present yourself. You have 1 minute to say what you do, what sector focus you have in tech, and what are the investment stages they're looking at.
Sure thing. So, hi everyone, I'm Hugh. I'm from Green Angel Syndicate. We've actually just changed our names to Green Angel Ventures to reflect kind of our stage, that we're progressing more into the venture stage as well. We are, as the name suggests, an angel syndicate of about 350 members, all looking to invest in the clean tech space and things that have a real tangible effect on the fight against climate change. So I guess you would say we're sector agnostic, but kind of themed on climate change. And that's really encouraging. We've got kind of 35 companies in our portfolio now. We typically invest anywhere between the seed to Series A stage, and our minimum ticket is about 250K. Our largest is about $1.5 million. And because we're an angel syndicate of new members joining each time, we nearly always follow on. and often our follow-ons are for larger sums of money than our initial tickets, which is really encouraging. And we have kind of 3 pots of money that we deploy from, first being our angel syndicates who invest on a deal-by-deal basis, and then our second is our climate change fund, and that's a co-investment vehicle to invest alongside our members. And then thirdly, we have a regional angels pot of money from the BBI, which again is there to support our angel syndicate and invest in, as the name suggests, regional, so outside of London. But yeah, we are an EIS investor, which means that kind of companies do need to be based in the UK, but heading that way and looking to be headquartered there. Yeah, Jonathan.
Thank you. So Jonathan Tudor, I'm an investment partner at the Clean Growth Fund. We're a £101 million early stage climate tech investor. Like Hugh, we only invest in UK-based management teams, sector agnostic. There's a requirement that each of the companies we invest in have to be able to demonstrate at least 100,000 tons per annum carbon mitigation once they're at scale. But other than that, we can look at biotechnology, sensors, chemicals, materials, hardware, everything else. Just need to be based in the UK. Still got plenty of money to invest, so find me afterwards. We've got a stand here as well if you want to go and follow up. Thanks.
Thank you both. I think we're going to crack on with our first presenter for today. We have the startup called Tinia from Romania. Ovidiu, please take the stage.
Hello, my name is Ovidiu Marian, and I am representing a startup from Romania. It's based in Transylvania. No reference to vampires here, by the way. So we are in the process also of incorporating here in UK. And I'm here to talk to you about the future Internet of Energy. So as you know, the current situation of the grid that distributes the electrical energy everywhere is not optimal, let's say. There are various news outlets that started to cover this more and more recently, in the sense that there is a very big problem that concerns the peak power production coming from renewable sources. So everything that is concerning wind and solar has the potential of putting a very, very high strain on the grid. And this is where we come with a solution, with our solution. I'm going to walk you through our business to consumer, business to, just a second, we have a problem here, business to business, and also business to government. I think we have a slight malfunction maybe from the presentation, but okay, we'll adjust. We'll start with the business to consumer and with a brief description of our system. So our system involves a small telemetry box that is supposed to be fitted behind each and every single individual panel, okay? And this will connect wirelessly to a communication aggregator. So our communication aggregator will be capable of speaking to each panel and to the solar inverter and as well to the energy meter, okay? That's within the household. All the data that comes from the panel will be digitally signed through blockchain, only for traceability solutions. So we don't have any connection with the crypto side of the blockchain, okay? And then the data will flow further to the cloud, to the Tinia cloud, of course through AI and machine learning. And this will allow us to learn the habits of production within that specific, let's say, household, okay? the key point here is that through the individualized telemetry, we can see the difference between the potential energy that remains unharvested at panel level and the energy that is being injected in the grid. Okay? This allows us to learn and make mathematical presumptions about what is going to happen in the short or in the near future in such a way that we can forecast energy capacity that is going to be available to be used at a specific point in time. Okay, so you should imagine that we can, for instance, pitch a number of houses that are going to be capable to charge EVs or to supply energy to local utilities companies or maybe even to consumers that are interested in net zero energy. And we can make this traceable because our solution goes through blockchain. For business to business, our solution gives a true digital certificate because all the components of the grid are TNI enabled. We can show the source of the energy, the moment when the energy has been produced, the path that the energy flowed, and the end point where it has been used. Okay? In the case of business to government, we offer for the grid operators a very good visibility as into what really happens to the grid. And this is how they can improve their grid capacity. All the financial projections and everything that's business connected has been done with our partners from KPMG. The details are available for each and every one of you that are interested in a very long pitch, very long presentation. And our team at home is now actually comprised of 17. It has grown meanwhile. We are all very energetic and optimistic about our project. And we are also pursuing a large-scale living lab with Sandia National Laboratories in the US because we know that our project is going to involve a new standard for the data that describes the grid. Right now, we are looking to raise 7 million in this round. And part of this money will go towards Sandia, our collaboration with Sandia National Laboratories. The runway for this first round of funding is 12 months. And part of that is going to be used to establish a living lab here in the UK. So a real-life living lab that will allow us to gather data and to expand our business. So thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you for that. That was very interesting. I guess what I kind of want to touch on first up is, you know, how many people you've signed up, how many of these devices are out in the field at the moment.
So right now, we are talking about a working proof of concept that has been for a bit over a year working back at home in Cluj. And we're trying to scale up. The purpose of the Living Lab is exactly to, you know, to gather more real-life data and also to integrate with a grid operator. It's very important to integrate with grid operators.
Thanks. And then I guess the other thing I wanted to touch on was what's the alternative? Like, who are the competitors in the space? What's the alternative you see to using your product?
Sorry, you'll have to...
So what's the alternative to using your product?
Right now, there is no alternative. So this technology, as it is presented to you right now, it has not been brought to life so far. There are parts of the technology that are currently being explored, even by large players, such as Siemens. But an end-to-end integration, as it has been presented to you here, has not been attempted as far as we know.
Okay, I'll chat to you after about a potential competitor then, which you might want to dig into. Jonathan, do you want?
Yeah, thank you. A couple of questions. What are the, because some countries have regulations about microgrids. What's the regulatory environment for implementing the system?
So right now, it's a very dynamic landscape. Everything is changing. We have been talking with representatives from the U.S. Department of Energy a couple of weeks ago, and they are migrating towards this at great speed. In Europe, the entire landscape is changing. I mean, Germany is a pioneer. They already have all the legislation, all the legislative framework, if you will, in place already as it is. So basically, we can go tomorrow in any land in Germany and we can deploy our solution. And we also know that Spain follows suit, I think, in July. I mean, every country, even back in Romania, where things tend to be, well, somewhat sluggish, they are still moving it. They're really moving it in this direction. So it's a kind of a less of a hassle than we were thinking about it last year, let's say.
Okay. And who pays for the sensors to go on the panel, and how do you make money?
Right now, as the solution is envisioned, we are going to be the ones that want to pay for the sensors on the panels, and there are various streams of revenue that are being projected. I mean, everything is kind of detailed in the long format of the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. And up. Yes, sorry. And up next, we're going to have Flies Robotics from Israel. Ron, good luck.
Hi. Hello. As an entrepreneurs, when we start a startup, we always have most of the pieces, they are gone. They are not available. And we need to adapt ourselves every time and to change every time. Now, this is exactly what happens to us at Flies Robotics. My name is Ron Shafran, and I'm the co-founder of Flies. At Flies, we disrupt the way cities and critical infrastructure facilities physically monitor themselves on a daily basis. What we develop is a fully autonomous platform that can monitor in high resolution cities and infrastructure on demand. The reason that we develop such a platform is to solve one of the biggest challenges in monitoring urban and changing environments, which are based today on fixed grids and low resolution solutions. And when we started and we checked why there is no proactive on-demand solution, we understood there are two main roadblocks. There is aerial regulation, and there is low energy availability. For example, this drone, if it was a normal drone, it would fly maybe 15, 20 minutes. It's not relevant to any commercial application. And if we add to this weight to have a heavier battery, it was much regulated and you cannot fly above people and beyond line of sight. So we developed this solution that combines all these limitations to develop Flies Robotics, which is a robot. It's a fully autonomous robot that flies, identifies the type of surface and can perch on vertical walls for many hours, or it can deploy different types of sensors and monitoring devices on these vertical walls and then collect them back. If you want to see the videos, you can come and speak with me later. But we actually developed this system. Here you can see a robot that deploys the sensors on a brick wall and then collects it back. And to the left, it's a robot that deploys itself on a vertical wall and turns off the engine, then stay for hours, and then go back home. By that, we enable customers around the world in a single click in emergency to deploy different types of sensors day and night and send them back home without leaving residue. So it's not only monitoring, we assist customers globally to be much more ready in their adaptation process and to respond much better to emergency events. So after choosing the type of sensor they want to deploy, they pinpoint the area they want to monitor, press a button, and then the robots are being sent, deploy the sensors, and then return back home. And with that, you have a multi-sensor database above the normal GIS. So we developed our core technology, proprietary technology, and we have strong IP. We are two serial entrepreneurs, and I exited with my first startup, Core BI. We just opened our seed round to add to our amazing partners. We have a pre-seed investors that already committed to the seed round. We closed 4 paid POCs with the design partners, 3 in Israel and 1 in Singapore, and we're looking forward to penetrate the UK market. Thank you very much.
What are the most common sensors that people want to, or what are the things they want to monitor for most often?
So the 2 main aspects is pollution and visual. These are the 2 main visual for whether for situational awareness or logistics. For one POC we have is with the biggest port in Israel is to monitor places that they don't have fixed cameras already installed. So this is an example of logistics operation for visual.
Okay. And what approvals do you have to go through to get, like the the aviation authorities that may have to do this?
That's the reason our robots are 250 grams, so it's the lowest requirement of regulation. Because it's commercial use, so we need to follow some process, but it's the shortest process available today because of the weight.
And finally, again, how do you make money? Is this a service you charge for per sensor, or?
It's a robot as a service for a certain amount of money per month for a squadron of 4 robots.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks for that. Yeah, I guess I kind of want to touch on your ideal customer. Who do you plan to see buying this or using your service?
So it would be, at the beginning, critical infrastructure facilities, like huge seaports where they have the need for both awareness, like visual, but for any other, for pollution and CBRN hazards, for example. So I'm looking for private clients, like critical infrastructure, that has the need not only for visual, but for monitoring pollution, GHG, etc. And we are at a stage that we are looking for these clients.
Presumably then, that your customers are using you essentially as a short-term trial in a particular place and then want to move to, fixed monitoring sensors or not?
Yeah, it would be based in stations inside the facility, and it will be fully autonomous. The robots will go, come back, charge, change the types of sensors, and will be sent again.
Okay. And how much do your customers want kind of continual data so they can monitor, the difference in GHG between daytime and nighttime, or, various different climates? Because I guess my question behind the question is, why don't people use just fixed monitoring systems in places where they know they want to for a long time?
So it's a very good question, when I started the presentation, I said there are many pieces that are not available, and we are learning this market. We are truly looking to see how much we are relevant in this issue. We truly believe that there is a huge potential because for big installations or cities, the capability to install 100% fixed grid sensors, it's very expensive, very complicated, and they just don't do it. At the end, they don't do it, only the things that they must monitor. So we are enabling to be another layer above the fixed grid to reduce the amount of sensors they need to install permanently and to be able to cover a huge range with a very low price.
Cool, thank you.
Thank you, Ron. And now we have Joanna from Hive Power, Switzerland.
Hear me all right? There we go. Hi, everyone. My name is Johanna Isaac from Hive Power. So everybody in the room has been affected by a huge increase in energy prices over the past year. And while you may not notice a difference in charging a small device like your laptop, when it comes to large ones like electric vehicles, it just got a whole lot more expensive. So the EV boom is here with deadlines pretty much set. In fact, Bloomberg predicts that the energy required to charge them will increase 60 times by 2040, representing about 10% of worldwide electricity consumption. So that means we need to prepare for a future scenario with its own set of opportunities and challenges. This increased consumption with the current setup will lead to stressing the grid, especially during times of peak demand. So it's time to focus less on how we charge and more on when. So let's think about charging the masses. Everyone has their own EV. EVs required to make last-mile deliveries as online purchases skyrocket, as well as EVs that are heavy-duty, like trucks hitting the road that have massive batteries. So this will all lead to additional pressure on the national grid. In order to avoid outages and power cuts, we need a smart energy management system. So as power and mobility sectors are converging, they're evolving into fuzzy scenarios. And the way we see it, power grids and energy markets really need flexibility in order to balance supply and demand. And also, flexibility is crucial to achieving net zero emissions, especially when you consider the increasing penetration of renewable energy input sources like solar and wind that are unpredictable based on the weather. So as you can imagine, this creates a very complex scenario that needs to be orchestrated well. And that's where we step in at Hive Power with our software that's called Flexo. So let's take a look at how it works. Flexo is powered by artificial intelligence, and it improves over time using machine learning. It's cloud-to-cloud based technology which collects and transfers data from flexible assets to the grid. This is what the end users can then use in order to, as prosumers and consumers, to monitor their production, consumption, the CO2 emissions avoided, and also input daily needs, such as when they're going on holiday. Then our platform aggregates all of this information. It analyzes energy and weather markets. And it does this in order to find the best charging profile in order to maximize savings and profits for the energy company and also for end users, at the same time keeping the grid happy. So energy retailers can make up to €1,000 per electric vehicle per year. And end users can then benefit from discounts on their energy bill and cashbacks. So what we know is that the market is huge and that it's growing. Bloomberg predicts that EVs will represent 40% of total sales by 2025. That means that 30 million vehicles will need smart scheduled charging across Europe. And this will lead to new revenues, will generate new revenues of up to €30 billion. So you might be asking, what's the difference of Hive Power, as grid stabilization and the EV market is quite a hot place to be. So with current solutions, are usually quite time-consuming to integrate, and they also involve expensive hardware. Customers choose us because we are laser-focused on software. Our customer service and our user experience is unique. And we also have a mature experience in stacking multiple use cases and extracting the most value from this flexibility orchestration. So just to be clear about where we stand, we're in this intelligence or optimization layer that stands between flexible assets that are owned by companies that have or are building their IoT strategy and the business layer above. So as I've mentioned, we're working on multiple use cases enabling flexibility management. Behind the meter, vehicle to everything, energy communities, which is the large part of our software as a service customers today, and national aggregation most recently, bidding flexibility on the balancing markets. So our business model is B2B2C. It's a software as a service platform for energy companies and to-be energy companies with an annual platform fee and a subscription fee based on the assets connected and the number of users involved. Here are some of our customers and partners we're working with today. As you can see, there are European market leaders across the energy, mobility, and appliance space. So we started out in 2017. We're actually a university spin-off from SIPSI, and we spun off in 2017. We're a team of 15 tech and industry experts hailing from across Asia, Europe, and the Americas. So we're currently fundraising our Series A, starting at about looking for 2 million, with $500,000 already committed from previous investors. And what we plan to do is to use that to continue to develop our product and to expand internationally, hopefully very soon to the UK, and we're already having some very promising discussions. So thank you very much for listening. Join me in driving towards a brighter net zero future.
Thank you, that was really good, really clear, Johanna. It's a question, how do you compete with the individual OEM, not just on the car, but the heat pump and everything else that can provide flexibility? Because they all have that kind of capability. And so when a demand response or a flexibility signal comes from the ancillary markets, all those machines put their hand up and say, I can give you that flexibility. So how do you avoid, or how do you integrate with all the different suppliers and decide which device creates the flexibility, therefore who gets paid?
Yeah, so it definitely depends on the use case and the type of customer. So as I was saying, like right now, most of our revenues we're generating from software as a service customers for energy communities specifically. So there we have, it kind of depends on which assets are connected. When we're talking about the projects we're working on with automotive OEMs, for example, we're working on integrating our systems. So we're software as a service, but we can also be algorithm as a service. And so, yeah, it really depends on the use case, on how we make that happen.
And who do you think are your biggest competitors in this space?
Yeah, I would probably say Krakenflex, and then on the EV charging side, Jedlix and Nuve. On the energy community side, Clean Watts. But we don't do the actual management of energy communities. Unlike them, we are really a platform for utilities and energy companies to then do the magic with the energy communities that they're creating.
Thanks for that. That was really, really clear, as Jonathan said. I'm interested to know a bit more about how you're going to acquire customers and how you're going to penetrate the market more.
Do you mean specifically within the UK?
Yeah, particularly.
Okay. So yeah, we're having different discussions with energy service companies. We're really looking at expanding our portfolio within flexibility management. So that's why the presentation was very much geared towards smart charging. So how we plan to do that, we plan to work on different proof of concepts because it's still quite early days for vehicle to grid. So continue working on those, involving different aggregators. And let's say on the automotive OEM side, we're pretty much set to go. So continue working on partnerships in order to build our presence in the UK, and then eventually do more than just pilot projects. So the way we see it is there's many ways in which Flexo could then be used also as a value-added service in order to gain market share within the EV and the very competitive automotive world.
Yeah. Wonderful. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jonah. And now we have Bonvento from Israel, represented by Yuri.
This is not me. Hi, my name is Yuri, and I'm the co-founder of Bomvento. What we do is removal of carbon from the atmosphere in an economical and scalable way. And there was an icebreaker in a minute that I'm having a difficulty to let go of. Thank you. What you can see on this picture is a solution to one big global problem, which is generating electricity from a renewable source. But at Bomvento, when we look at this picture, we can see a solution to another big challenge, the challenge of removal of greenhouse gases from the atmosphere. Each one of those turbines towers to 200 meters tall. Its wingspan is 160 meters. And as it spins and generates electricity, it effectively processes hundreds of billions of cubic meters of air annually. And we harness this special superpower for our purposes. At the heart of our technology is a process called photocatalysis. It's a process that allows the transformation of bad gases, like greenhouse gases, into good ones. For example, N2O, which is the third most impactful greenhouse gas, can be reduced into N2 and O2, nitrogen and oxygen, so environmentally benign products. This process has been proven as effective and is indeed at the heart of what we do. We integrate photocatalytic capability on the blades of wind turbines. And it's a two-step process that initiates integration and application of the catalyst on the blades of the wind turbine and integration of a dedicated lighting solution that enables that reaction. Once we complete this transformation of the blades of the wind turbine, each wind turbine becomes a dual-purpose asset. It continues generating electricity while also removing greenhouse gases from the atmosphere. Each turbine, once equipped, can reduce up to 10,000 tons of CO2e per year at a cost of $50 per ton. Putting that into perspective of direct air capture and storage, which is hundreds of dollars per ton. And we achieve these numbers by the unique proposition of the business model. Number one, this is an additive business model. We rely on a CapEx which has already been deployed by someone else. Number two, this is a sustainable way of approaching the problem. We have very little margin, like additional utilization of energy, of land, of water for our purpose. And lastly, this is an autonomous process because it doesn't require the day-to-day intervention of people in its work. And not mentioned here, but we also don't need to store anything. So this is, as the turbine spins, the reduced greenhouse gas is being released into the atmosphere. It's super scalable. If we introduced Bomvento on every wind turbine deployed between now and 2030, we'd be able to remove 1 gigaton from the atmosphere per year. Now, beyond transforming the carbon markets, we're also transforming the wind industry. Each wind turbine today, 7 megawatt offshore turbine, generates $1.2 million in electricity revenue. It can also generate $1 million from carbon credits. Now, this is super appealing and benefits all key wind industry stakeholders, the financiers, the developers, and the OEMs. We reduce the risk, increase the competitiveness, and secure the longevity of this industry. We have so far, in the last 10 months, we've built our team, we've did a deep validation of the scientific and on the business side. We've raised initial capital from the Israeli Innovation Authority and the Blue Economy Center in Israel, submitted our patent, and set up our experiment infrastructure. Our team consists of both scientists and business operators. My background is both in operations and in management consulting. We have a leading professor for photocatalysis on our team, and nimble and super effective team used to be working on low TRL projects. Join us. Together we can both reverse the course of global warming and become part of an emerging the multi-billion-dollar industry. Thank you.
It's a pretty unique idea. A couple of immediate questions. When you talking about the POC, what actually have you been able to demonstrate, and what have you still got to demonstrate before it could get on the turbine?
So the POC focus is actually to optimize and to test the photocatalysis and airflow dynamic. So the science that exists and which we're able to reproduce is in static environments. There is a certain leap which has never been done before, and for which we need to enter the lab. And this is really where, before starting the actual in-lab activity, to do that.
Okay. And what's the process for coating the photocatalysis on the blades?
So it's a second phase challenge. We're looking first at the chemistry challenge and then to the engineering. But the way we're thinking about this is atomic deposition on the blades of the wind turbines. It needs to, of course, withstand the challenges of the environment in which it operates and also be a long-term solution, which require minimal maintenance.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, just on that, I kind of want to know what your preliminary thoughts are on how durable the coating is.
The professor says, and it's yet to be proven, that we can get to a point of 5-year efficiency. In our techno-economical model, we assume 1 year. So the costs of, like, if we looked at the cost of 1 ton removed, big part of it is actually the labor associated with operation at the open seas.
Okay. And yeah, what are your thoughts on the energy production? Will it affect the production of
So we're looking at 2 different solutions. One would address the new turbines, essentially integrating into its design, and the second would be retrofitting existing turbines. So we know that there's going to be potentially a negative impact for the retrofitted turbines, up to 5% of energy generation, and it's also calculated within our model. So essentially compensation for the loss of energy generation because of weight and aerodynamics impact.
Okay. Yeah, and what do you foresee as your biggest challenge scaling up from kind of static conditions to live POC?
I think we are in a space where there is a world of knowledge that already exists, but potentially we're at 0 or 1. Like the science might not add up. So we have an opportunity here, we have an opportunity to solve a major problem. But we need to prove it's happening. So if we go into this research phase, we have a risk associated with it.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Yuri. And now we're moving to the last presenter for this session. All sites from the UK. Emmanuel, please come forward.
Thank you.
It's working.
It's working? All right. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Emmanuel Kirunda. I am the COO and Commercial Director for All Sites. All Sites is a purpose-driven startup. Our purpose is very clear: to expedite the energy transition by accelerating the early-stage planning of large-scale decarbonization projects. And our approach, so far, we've shown over 2.5 years that we can reduce these timelines by as much as 84%, and our goal is to automate the whole process. So what is the real problem? The real problem in the marketplace is that for entities that are screening for opportunities globally for hydrogen, renewables, and carbon capture projects, the screening timelines are exorbitantly very, very long. For example, feasibility studies can be as long as 20 months instead of, according to our approach, 2 or 3 months. And you've all heard about the permitting regimes. For example, in the UK, to connect to the transmission network, it can take up to 15 years. So most of these dreams we have of net zero are going to be pipe dreams. We feel there's a massive gap for a more efficient planning process in the early stages, because if you've done any project, most of the value accretes or is lost in the early stages, not in design, execution, or whatever. So this is where All Sites comes in. We have created the first planning environment, an integrated digital planning environment that uses intuitive visualizations and geospatial mapping to deliver quick insights to both the developers and authorities, such that within one place, all these stakeholders can have all the insights they need to make quick decisions about the viability and doability of projects. We've integrated in our web app, which is kind of like a Google Earth, all the project enablers like infrastructure, power grid, land use, national policies, and economic modeling, such that these things can be automated as opposed to being done by man-hour-based business models. Our flagship product, the AllSites Eye, is already running. You can check it out, allsiteseye.com. And it's the first in the energy industry to try to automate or exceedingly speed up how project developers and permitting authorities can size up projects. 3 main benefits. The first one is it greatly simplifies the understanding of complex interrelated variables about projects development using visualizations, 3D visualizations that non-technical people who usually are the decision makers can look up and understand what's going on. Secondly, it speeds up whole system integration and analysis. We bring in the geospatial engineering, project engineering principles and economics and GHG monitoring such that within a short time, you can decide what is viable, what's doable. Lastly, it gives power to people all over the world. You just type in a name and pull up layers. People all over the world to explore their own areas of interest and customize solutions. Our team is made up of 3 exec directors, Tony, Rosie, and I. Altogether, we have more than 40 years of a combined global experience in energy development. We are supported by 4 energy and business execs. When we started the AllSites venture, we were clear we wanted to be customer-led. That was our innovation strategy. So from the get-go, all the features we've built in the app have been through collaboration with real-world projects. So from the get-go, we've been making revenue. Last year, we made 157,000. This year, we are forecasting 400,000. And we've served 7 customers, including the Crown Estate, the former Department of Bays. And right now, we just started a multi-year project with the SSEN network to roll out our app as the benchmark for one of the 3 UK transmission grid networks. The market opportunity is immense. We've done a bottom-up estimation of about £1.3 billion, made up of 6 customer groups, and at a growth rate of about 31%. That's about £5 billion in 5 years. The ask is that we are SEIS and EIS approved already. If you have money, about 600K, we can give you 17% equity, but we're also looking for collaboration. If you have a project, you can use our tools to speed up and simplify decision-making. Thank you.
Thanks for that. It's really interesting. Yeah, I guess I wanted to know really about the what are the potential downsides if I'm a customer approaching you. What's going through my head in the downsides?
In the downsides?
Yeah.
Downsides. That's from left field. Can I say the upside first?
I think you've just told us the upside.
The
Yeah.
upside.
What are your customers saying? Why haven't more? What are your customers that haven't used your service? Okay. What are they saying?
Yeah, maybe a couple of things. One is we are new kids on the block. We are new kids in the block. So we've had many conversations with people, with big companies, and in the end, there's a whole process of being onboarded, and we are a no-name company. So people in the traditional mindsets haven't given us a chance. But the Crown Estate and the Bays, they looked at our app and they're like, whoa, someone is doing this. And they've been actually our first corporate, Crown Estate is our first corporate subscriber. So it needs people who think outside the box and realize these traditional consultants' methodologies can be automated, and people cannot grasp that.
Great. And I guess kind of where do you see version 2 of your product?
That is where the IP comes in. We have the idea of version 2, and next month in June, we've already done an IP audit, courtesy of Innovate UK. We're gonna make it more interactive. Like, these technologies are there in other industries, but not in the energy industry. So watch out when the patent comes out.
Okay, of course, thank you.
Thanks.
I'm just curious how you charge for the product. Is it on a project-by-project basis, subscription, or?
Yeah, good question. It's in my detailed slide pack, but we've been developing it via projects. So it has been a project-based revenue. But over 5 years, 85% is going to be recurring subscription. And so this year, we already have 48K recurring on our 2 subscription. And by end of the year, it will be half of the 400K. So mainly, over 5 years, it will be subscription. And there are 3 price tiers: individuals, one-man bands or one-man developers, and corporates, and then enterprise. Prices range from 100 per month for low-key automated things, then to a couple thousands per month.
And how many projects have you used it on so far?
About 7.
Okay.
About 7. But right now, last month we started on the grid, as they say, the elephant in the room about decarbonization. And we are working with the SACN. It's a multi-year project, and we have several partners. And it's the first time we are putting it to use on power analysis, and it's going very well.
Got it. Thank you.
Thanks.
Great. Thank you, Emmanuel. And now we're going to break. We're going to have around 25 minutes till 2:25. Hard stop. We're going to start again. So thank you for the 5 first startups. And let's give them a big applause. Well done. And then after that, we're going to have the other batch of the additional 5 startups. So please stay here, mingle, engage with the companies that you met, and of course with our lovely judges. So we'll see you again at 2:25.
I think we could possibly start. Are you all good? Are you feeling okay? Everyone rested? Ready to kick off with the next round of our amazing startups. We have 5 coming up. But before that, let me introduce myself. So my name is Damir Cimir. I'm the Global Tech Connect. Was founded by different organizations from different countries. I don't know if anyone can guess my accent, but I'm the Croatian part of it. I'm one of the directors on the British Croatian Chamber of Commerce. We are one of the founders of Global Tech Connect. I also run in my day job, I run a legal tech business in London, and we're based in London. But this is not about me. This is about our startups, and it's about our judges, and it's about you. And we actually have a new addition. So the next cohort will get more questions and more diverse questions, I think. We have Rubina from Octopus Ventures. Maybe you could introduce yourself for a second, if that's all right. What sort of businesses do you invest in? What are you looking to get out of these presentations, and anything like that? Within a minute, there we go.
Sounds good. Thanks, Damir. So hi, everyone. Rubina Singh from Octopus Ventures. For those of you who might not be familiar, Octopus Ventures is part of Octopus Investments, and we're one of the most active VC investors across Europe. And our mission is super simple. We invest in the ideas, people, and industries that will change the world. And over the past few years, we've focused our efforts and investments in 3 areas. So empowering people, revitalizing healthcare, and enabling a sustainable planet. So my focus is on enabling a sustainable planet. So I'm a fund manager for pre-seed and seed stage deep tech. So essentially, at the intersection of deep climate tech, we invest across software and hardware with a bit of a bias for hardware, and looking at technologies that are going to help solve some of the big global challenges, including climate change. But with Octopus Ventures in general, we invest all the way from pre-seed to Series A and beyond.
Amazing.
And we're
Thank
looking
you.
forward to these pitches.
Thanks for joining us on the
Yeah,
panel.
sorry I'm late, but
Don't worry about it. So I think we can kick off, and that will be with Christian from Renser. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Is this on? Can you hear me? Perfect. Hi, Hi everyone. My name is Christian Hendriksen. I'm co-founder and CEO of Renser. We are specialists in indoor air quality management. Our background is in clinical environments, so NHS is our single largest customer. But today we're talking about a solution we've developed for the built environment, specifically for retrofit. We've shown of building ventilation that we can reduce energy consumption and carbon emissions by more than 40% with an immediate return on investment. We need to rethink how buildings are ventilated. Of global energy consumption, 40% is consumed by buildings, and of that, 40% is specifically related to ventilation or HVAC. And we've shown with our solution that we can reduce that by 40%, so 40, 40, 40, that's the opportunity we're targeting. The facts are that indoor air quality is vital to human health. The pandemic very clearly showed us that. Building ventilation is very energy intensive, as just shown on the previous slide. And then office occupancy is a lot more varying than it has been historically. And that gives us three unique challenges. One, we need to optimize for ventilation rates that ensures good indoor air quality but prevents energy wastage. Two, we need to address the trade-off between sufficiently ventilating our buildings and reaching net zero. And three, we need to confront rising energy costs. So with that, we have developed Smart Demand Control Ventilation, or SDCV. We have shown that we can deliver 1 cubic meter of clean air for 9 times less energy consumption than what it costs to take through a central HVAC system. And that means the way we unlock savings in buildings is by changing the ventilation mix. Of the total ventilation volume, we reduce the amount of outside air we take into a building. We substitute that with air purification that's far cheaper to run, still meeting the total ventilation volume, ensuring that we meet regulatory requirements, but that brings along a substantial reduction in energy consumption and an improvement in indoor air quality, because the air in a place like central London that we are taking from the outside into our buildings is not clean air in the first place. A case study here, we've done a number of implementations, and a case study here is with a Fortune 100 company. This is their London headquarters. It's a building for 1,200 people across 14 floors. By implementing SDCV in this building, we managed to reduce their energy consumption related to HVAC by 71%. We reduced their carbon emissions of the building by 384 tons of CO2e. That's equivalent to 50 homes' annual energy usage, or equivalent to preserving 450 acres of forest. And importantly, we ensured or improved the air quality in that space as well, which is important for the health and well-being of employees in the business. This is enabled by our state-of-the-art air purification hardware, developed for clinical environments and documented for clinical environments. So we clean the air very effectively. We know we deliver high volumes of clean air, combined with an IoT platform and air quality sensors that allows us to document and continuously monitor air quality to ensure compliance. We can also integrate that with a building management system, so we have end-to-end control of the 2 sources of air in a building, the central HVAC system on one end and the air purification hardware on the other. Implementation is simple. It can be done in 3 steps. We will always start with a consultation where we will evaluate the building and what the energy saving potential is in that building. We then present that to the client, and if they want to proceed, we can go to a soft deployment, which typically takes 4 to 8 weeks, demonstrating the savings potential in that building, and a full deployment can be done in a couple of weeks after that, meaning it's far, far quicker than traditional HVAC upgrades that take far, far longer. We have 2 implementation models. One is a subscription model, an all-in managed service, typically a 36-month contract, where we see the monthly energy savings more than offset the investment into the air purification hardware or our monthly subscription, meaning that clients get an immediate return on investment with lower emissions and improved air quality. And therefore turning, in essence, the HVAC upgrade into an OPEX expense rather than a CAPEX expense, which doesn't exist today. We also have a traditional CapEx model for the customers that prefer that, where there'll be an upfront fee and an ongoing IoT charge. Typically, the payback on the investment is 1 to 3 years. And then the example I showed you previously for the headquarters of this company in London, we had an immediate ROI. They went for the subscription model, but had they gone down a CapEx route, it would have had a 2.3-year payback. No one else is doing. Perfect. No one else is doing decentralized ventilation solutions, and that means that the only equivalent solution is really central upgrades to the HVAC system. And that's it for me. Thank you very much.
Thanks for that. Really interesting. I guess I kind of want to know about this subscription model because it sounds quite capital intensive for you guys. You know, how long's your kind of payback period on that, given that essentially you're taking the capital risk?
Sure. We see a full payback on our equipment typically in 7 to 8 months. So it is obviously a financing game, but the way we funded our business so far means that we have the balance sheet to support that, and therefore we are happy to do rollouts of that basis as we currently stand.
And how much of the split is between of your customers asking for the kind of traditional CapEx versus OpEx model?
In the current environment, most businesses prefer the OpEx model. If you can improve the ESG performance of your real estate without the need for big CapEx investment, that's appealing to a lot of businesses. So we are seeing demand for that. But obviously for the companies that can afford the CapEx model, then seeing that the clear payback and writing it down over a longer period can make sense as well.
Okay, thanks.
Hi, thanks for that. So just a quick question. In terms of your performance, in terms of air purification, how does that compare to other such technologies?
So again, we developed our devices for clinical environments, and therefore we need to have really solid independent documentation. Pre-pandemic, we were selling these to hospitals and healthcare. So it's really all around the documentation and efficacy of the devices. And there we know we deliver, for instance, we've done CFD modeling in dental suites to show how quickly we can do aerosol transmission clearance. So we have that whole host of data behind it to show that the products works really effectively. And that's part of how we devise our strategies. And that consultation phase, we say what equipment is needed in this building to meet the specific requirements of the client's indoor air quality.
Thank you.
2 questions to make sure we're understood correctly. Can you integrate this into existing HVAC systems, or is it standalone?
We supplement the existing HVAC system. So the whole point is, rather than if you have an existing HVAC system that's due for an upgrade, we can essentially prolong the life of that. We supplement it, we install our hardware, and they work in conjunction. We, in essence, lower the air volume going through the central HVAC system and supplement with our system. So we work in conjunction, and provided that the client has a BMS system, we can integrate with that from a software perspective.
And the other one, I didn't quite understand the 40% thing. Is it you're saying you reduce the 40% heat loss in the building? Is that?
So to run a building, typically it's around 40 to 60% of your cost of running the building is HVAC related. That line item we can reduce by 40%.
Got it. Okay.
So it's around 16, 20% of total building operating costs.
Thank you.
Sorry, I've got one more. You use one case study there. How many buildings are you operating in at the moment?
So this is a new solution we developed. We have it deployed in buildings here in the UK and US, probably around 10 buildings right now. But we are deploying a lot of solutions here over the coming months.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Christian.
Thank you.
That was amazing, really compelling. Are we good? Can you hear me? Okay, so next up we have Moran from Zohar Clean Tech in Israel. There you go, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Hi, where is the clicker? Okay. Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Well, where did you come from this afternoon? Did you come from the airport? Did you come from your hotel? Did you come from a nice restaurant or a shopping center? Think about all the amount of waste that those places are making. It's a huge amount of waste, and this waste should be handled somewhere. In the next few minutes, I'm going to share with you the vision of Zohar Cleantech. Our vision is to make a revolution in the world of the waste management. If there is one thing I want you to remember out of this presentation, is that we think that waste should be handled on-prem, locally, just where it was produced. Hi, nice to meet you. My name is Moran Kirchner, and I'm the CEO at Zohar Cleantech. I want to address the problem, and we usually look at it out of two aspects. The first aspect is, of course, the environmental one. We know today that 20% of the methane emission is being caused as a result of landfilling. Yet 85% of the global waste is still going to landfill, although there are very good alternatives. And the landfilling lands are running over. In 3 years, 4 years from now, we know that there will be no more land for landfills. The other aspect is the financial aspect. All the hassle, taking the trucks that needs to collect the waste, to transport it, and eventually to landfill it, is a huge hassle that has a huge cost over municipalities and private companies around the world. This is why we in Zohar Cleantech invented our 40-feet container that can process the waste if it's unsorted or sorted, 500 kilograms of waste that transformed into energy. This is a local modular system that is located outside the customer premises. In the beginning of the process, we start with the shredding, and then through a process of thermal gasification, which is patented, we are transforming the waste into syngas and eventually to energy. This energy can be used either for heating, for boiling, to lighting, back to the system, or to local consumption according to the client requirements. This is a very cost-effective and efficient solution for any kind of segment almost. Think about airline, think about restaurants, commercial centers. We know today, after examining about 120 potential customers, that in each one of them, we are able to save between 35 and 50% of the current waste management costs. Not only that, each system like this is reducing in equivalent 2,000 tons of carbon emission per year per one system. So we have a prototype produced in Israel. I invite you all to come and see it. The company received so far investments and grants from the chief scientist of the Israeli Ministry of Energy, and investments from Doral Energy, which is the largest renewable energy company in Israel and becoming such worldwide. Since the investment entered in 2021, the company reached very quickly to TRL 6 in less than 2 years, and I think that's very impressive. There is a very impressive traction around the company. We have LOIs with municipalities, with commercial companies, with industrial companies, with commercial centers in Israel and worldwide. And we are after a completion of a very successful POC with a known global company. Now we are here because we are looking for partnerships, strategic partnerships, and because we are starting our round A very soon. Time. So in terms of the roadmap, we are now with our outdoor device that is able to handle 500 kilograms of waste per day. The next business line is the indoor device that is placed into residentials. And the third business line is waste to hydrogen that is able to process the waste straight to hydrogen to the use of transportation and to full trucks and mainly to the transportation industry. All of this wouldn't have been possible without our very successful A-team of mechanical engineers and materials engineers with vast experience. We are 4 people, but there are 80 subcontractors that are involved in this very complicated process. Our chairman is the CEO of Doral Infrastructures, coming as well with vast experience in managing complicated infrastructures. And I'm very, very happy to discuss with you potential collaborations and, of course, investments. And I'm here for any question. Thank you very much. This is the model, by the way. Yeah. Here you can see a 3D model, although we already have a prototype produced after the POCs. I can open it, but then I'll break all the pieces, so I'd rather not doing that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Moran. So good question. Where exactly is your core IP?
We have patented registered, and it's applied on the system and the design and the reactor.
Right. And then in terms of the sorting of the waste, at what stage are you at now? Because I saw in the roadmap you talked about dry waste versus mixed waste. So what can it do right now?
We're currently able to process 500 kilograms in our outdoor system. It means that we are starting to get pre-orders from customers, and we are able to supply within 11 months from the moment of signature.
Right. And then, sorry, last question. In terms of the reduction in carbon emissions, have you done any estimates in terms of what that would look like?
So we are started a process with one of the leading accreditation companies, with Vera. And we are now starting to do that because I think we are not relying on that as part of our business model. It's good to have, but I think that's very important and that's very beneficial because many of our clients are industrial. We start with the industrial sector, companies that have between 500 kilograms, which is 1,100 pounds a day, until 2 tons. And most of them see a lot of importance in this, in being a player in the carbon market. So,
all right, thank you.
Yeah, I kind of want to carry on with that sort of line of questioning. Just on the kind of variety of your output in the variety of input waste you've put in. You know, how have you tested that? Because I think I saw just dry mix at the moment. You know, what sort of variety of testing have you done?
The testing, or what waste is it?
Yeah, of the waste input that you've kind of put in.
So the waste input. The process starts with a shredder. It means that we can we can process inside waste from almost any kind. We are not processing today glass, stones, and heavy metals. They would be going out as an output of reusable material that is going back to the construction industry. It's not slag, it's like a powder that we are able to let construction companies use. So the two outputs are the syngas that is used for energy, and this depends on the waste that we start with, but the maximum would be 7% that will become reusable material. Is that what you asked?
Yeah, broadly.
And how are you breaking down the waste? Is this pyrolysis, plasma, or? So
the process is thermal gasification. It's called a shift reaction. And the entire process is that we start with the shredding, then the thermal gasification. After that, materials that weren't gasified during the gasification process, we make some sort of purification. Let's say if there was like chlor in the PVC or something that didn't pass the entire gasification process, but we have no emissions and we have no dioxins in the process. Everything stays inside the system.
And what sort of power input do you need?
So happily, the balance is positive. The input is about 35 kilowatts, and the output is about 100 kilowatts. Then you can use it in different ways. Either if it's a generator, then the usability is about 30%, full cells about 60%, or the local grid. Usually in industrial companies, they are very interested because they have a very clear use of the energy that is being created, as well as shopping centers that needs to light the center, etc. So.
Got it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. That was great. Thanks, Moran. We filled out the full 10 minutes. Lots of questions. That's always a good sign. So next up, we have Sanket, the CEO of ProDecipher from Switzerland. There you go.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I hope everybody's awake and full of energy. I'm very happy to have the chance to present to you the product sustainability operating system. We call it the ProSOS. I love to call it the building blocks to solve supply chain traceability. I'm going to start with this picture here. As a kid, I loved movies. Why am I telling you this? Since I started ProDecipher a year and a half back, I've spoken with many global CEOs of many large multinational companies. I've spoken to sustainability managers at these companies, and their situation as far as ESG reporting is concerned always reminds me of the scene from Indiana Jones. These guys, they are pushed to do validated ESG reporting in their annual reports. They're pushed by their investors, as employees. Hey, do something, right? Your team is kind of urging you on, cross that bridge. The one question that goes through their mind is, can I really trust the data from my supply chain for trustful ESG reporting? And that's similar to this lady here thinking if I can cross this bridge, this very rickety bridge. So why is it important to have trustful data for ESG reporting? When it comes to trustful data, there's a big elephant in the room. I want you to remember 3 numbers from my presentation today. The first one is this. Companies worldwide are spending north of $1.5 billion yearly on ESG software alone. Despite all of this big investment, studies have shown that less than 20% of the consumers trust the data and the claims that are being made about the product or the supply chain. That's a big waste of that investment, and that's the problem that we are solving. So the big elephant in the room is that traceability today is broken in supply chains. That's what we are fixing. The first POC that we did with a global biofuels trader showed that we could reduce compliance costs by 80% while increasing the trust in the data that was being used for that compliance check. So what is the Pro SOS? We like to call it the building blocks of supply chain traceability. It will help us, as well as any other company, implement any kind of supply chain traceability system at a fraction of the cost that it costs today. When people ask me to describe it a bit more, I always use this very simple sentence. It's a modular ERP software built around ESG and sustainability claims for entire supply chains, not just for one company, because we cannot solve the climate change problem, ESG reporting, as one organization alone. We need data from the supply chain. So what have we built so far? We've implemented ProFuel Trace, helping companies in the biofuels and sustainable aviation fuel sector prove compliance and reach certification to schemes under the EU and the US RFS. We've built supply chain traceability systems in the food and agri space through the ProAgriTrace platform. I won't go into the business model. Suffice it to say, it's an enterprise SaaS model. What we also plan is in the future to make available these building blocks through a tokenized open repository for everybody to use. And now, ladies and gentlemen, I will be happy to very shortly report on one of the proudest moments of my life as a founder at ProDecipher. That was when the sustainability manager at Shell had that to say about us. So please just read through that. And that validation from the market, from a leading oil and gas company going into renewables, is coming from the fact that we have really created something after a year and a half of investment and development that is very, very scalable, that is very, very modular, so that we can implement supply chain traceability systems very easily. And I'm very, very proud to also introduce you to my team at ProDecipher. Joining me as a co-founder is Prakhar, who is a world-renowned certification and regulatory expert with experience working with global clients like Unilever, Shell, and BP as well. Our CTO is Dr. Nikhil Verma. He has been teaching supply chain traceability applications in blockchain since 8 years before it was in fashion. We are also supported by a range of experts on our advisory board from the different industries. So that brings me to the end to And I want to leave the message with all of you. Let's come and build that bridge to trustful data for ESG reporting. Thank you very much.
It's pretty impressive, 80% reduction. But can you give me an idea what those compliance costs are? And because if they're not a significant cost, 80% reduction doesn't necessarily matter potentially, right?
That's an excellent question. The number that's based on is with a global biofuels trader, and these guys, they have a large team. We estimated for each of the large sites that they maintain, they have a team of people just maintaining that data and taking care of the regulation and compliance of around more than 2 FTE per large site. Right, and that's the cost that we could actually decrease for them, because our software is more or less kind of takes over the process of maintaining the data and doing the audits, doing the non-conformity follow-up, etc.
So, where are you getting your inputs from, and how are you verifying the accuracy of those?
It's a good question. In the end, our approach is very bottom-up. So what we don't do is we build this whole platform and then ask the whole industry to come and put their data on it. That'll never work. We really take a small little process which one company needs to maintain to be compliant and to get certified. So it's like a bookkeeping module that they start using it by themselves. So put in their data, which is required by the compliance, right? And as soon as their suppliers and clients and any kind of upstream suppliers and downstream clients, even companies they don't have a contract with, put in data, they also have the double validation using the blockchain infrastructure, where they could kind of use a hash on a public blockchain to check that the claims that are being made are correct. So it doesn't need the whole supply chain to come on top, but it's really an enterprise SaaS solution. Thank you.
Thank you for that. I guess kind of my question is, blockchain supply chain traceability is not a new idea. Where's your real kind of USP in kind of selling this?
Our main USP here, and that I tried to show in the landscape diagram. So there have been a lot of companies trying to do it. Large-scale adoption has still been missing the last few years, and one of the main reasons is the complexity to develop such a system, to develop and implement. Implementation is actually the biggest hurdle here. So what we are doing is, on the development part, we've kind of followed a very modular structure, which helps us implement such systems at a fractional of the cost. Again, also that, there we estimated that it costs 80% less to develop with us rather than do it from scratch. So that's one part of the hurdle that we're solving. The other part that we're solving is with modular APIs to build interfaces with existing ERP systems and so on. Yeah.
Wonderful, thank you. And on your slide of the kind of competitors, which one makes you most nervous?
So one of the things that I should have said is I don't see any of those companies as our competitors, because we are building the building blocks of supply chain traceability. I'd like to welcome all of them to come and build on us. So in that sense, it's all about collaboration, not about competition.
Wonderful, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so next up, we have Tal Umansky with insights from Israel. There you go. Floor is yours.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. So we all understand the massive need to accelerate the transition into renewable energy. We hear it all over the place and every day. In the meantime, the demand for consumption is just growing due to EV adoption and population growth. But targets are being set. For example, UK are setting targets to all energy providers to reach 78% of zero carbon generation by 2035. That's around the corner. We are moving from centralized energy generation into distributed clean energy. And this change brings with it many challenges. Have you ever wondered how to manage hundreds of PV systems, wind turbines, storage, and EVs in one place? Well, it's complex. And let me give you one more piece of information you may not know. over 70% of PV systems don't meet the planned output forecast. My name is Talo Mansky, product manager at Insights, the operational system for the renewable energy market. With the Windows, the iOS for that market, and now you can manage all of these distributed assets in one place, allowing you a range of actions to maximize profit. With our live performance module, you now can track your full portfolio in real time, validate the data through anomaly detection and actionable insights. We also offer dynamic storage management in order to let you the visibility when to charge, export, and produce. And we also offer an OCPP management. You can call it an EV fleet management. Now you can have a dynamic load management and seamless integrations with a variety of vendors. All these modules together basically providing a full microgrid management for increasing efficiency. Our mission is to promote the most energy independence customers by providing the best user experience through innovative software and service. Our customers are not the only one who stands benefit. We're trying to be impactable. These are the SDGs we are targeting, and that's how much we save annually. Our customers are located globally from the US, Europe, Israel, of course, and South Africa. And we are proud by our numbers. We've been scaled a year and a half ago, already reaching above 5K assets, above 900 megawatts, and holding 30% of the Israeli market share. And yeah, we have proven results, reducing monitoring team by 66%, hit yearly performance forecasts, and of course, saving money up to 30%. And that's why we've been trusted by these leaders, being the most impactable, trying to be the most impactable, of course, and the most innovative. And now we're trying to implement with OpenAI, with Microsoft on a weekly basis, their solution to our platform. Our leading team have vast experience in the energy industry. Our co-founders are here. Raise your hand. So yeah, from the algorithm engineering to software engineering, business development, and more. We're in the middle of fundraising, and that's how we see it splitting. We are ready to scale. You've seen the numbers. We now want to make here our premises, and we are ready to collaborate, and still to be more innovative in these segments. Thank you very much. Again, I'm Tal. You can contact me here, and we will be more than happy to later discuss. Let's watch a quick movie about Insights. Thank you.
We could talk about the importance of renewable energy, but you already know that. So let's talk about something you don't know. You can optimize your existing assets by up to 30%, while saving precious time, money, and manpower with Insights. Managing numerous assets can be difficult. Optimizing performance requires careful monitoring of multiple parameters, accurate decision-making, and effective actions. Achieving this becomes even harder when each asset is controlled by a different system and maintained by a different service provider. This is where Insights comes in. Insights interfaces with all your solar assets, receives information, performs smart analysis, and enables you variety of actions. Insights processes the data from all connected assets and displays the quantities of produced and consumed energy, while providing critical insights regarding the efficiency of the systems. The system automatically identifies anomalies and immediately alerts, detailing the nature of the malfunction, and even enables calling for a technician with just a click of a button. And speaking of the flow of information, Insights monitors the performance, cleanliness, and maintenance statuses of your assets and enables you to remotely call for maintenance supplier. Insights tracks your ROI in real time and gives you full financial visibility with automatic reports of your revenues against your installation costs. In order to maximize the efficiency of the generated energy, Insights developed a dynamic energy utilization mechanism which applies AI algorithms to predict future scenarios and optimizes the use of the stored energy at any given moment, whether it is for internal needs, supplying electricity to external sources, or even supplying energy to the local utility. Insights provides a state-of-the-art centralized renewable energy asset management, built using the latest cutting-edge technologies to maximize and secure your assets' performance. Walking a challenging road is always better when you have a trusted partner. Let insights light your way forward to a cleaner, brighter future.
Thank you.
I was going to ask, I mean, there's some pretty big companies doing very similar things. How do you think you could compete with the likes of Envision?
Okay, that's a good question. So first of all, it's all the development made in-house, okay? Which means all these integrations with the module that mentioned. Other competitors do it by acquiring these companies, okay? And when it's about the numbers, the nuances can be visible, okay? Implementing all these innovative tools with these leaders on a weekly basis, we're meeting with them, trying to implement the simplest solution out there, like OpenAI. And basically, it's a game of data, so we like trying to give that the most focus. And of course, we agnostic to all hardware on the market, the main ones.
Thank you, Tudor. So quick question. In terms of the insights you provide, in terms of the levels of granularity, for example, let's take the PV system. Is that at the system level, the panel level, cell level? How much granularity you can provide in terms of insights?
So we get as deep as it gets to the string level. So it's basically our customers could be O&M companies that use that tool to optimize their own assets. So they should make the most of that. So granularity until the string level, it's the deepest that we got.
Right. 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 Because then I would repeat Jonathan's question in a way, because it's at a string level, then there are other technologies that do it at the panel level. And if one panel fails, the entire string fails. So how are you competing against those technologies, for example? Right. Oh, okay. Okay, and then in terms of, you mentioned you're using AI algorithms. Tell me more about what AI are you using? What's that technology?
Yes, so we have been selected and participating in the AI for Good program by Microsoft. And today we're working on the generative AI integration into our platform, which brings much more insights and innovative technology into the platform. So we have a bunch of data, and by using with their algorithms, it provides me a lot of insights. We call it optimization insights, because this is the play of the game. I hope it answers the question.
Yeah, all right, thank you.
I think you may well have answered my question on that, but you're planning to put $2 million aside for R&D. What areas are you looking to innovate in?
Can you repeat the question?
You're planning to put $2 million worth into R&D.
Yes.
What areas are you looking to innovate into?
Two main growth engines, storage and EV charging, because we see all our assets that today managing, each and every one of them start to integrate the storage. And it's kind of, it's not so simple to optimize, depending on the target, the function of the asset. It depends if they want stability of the grid. It depends if they want independence and not take other electricity from other sources. So this is the main focus. And also the electric vehicles. It's a whole microgrid.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. It's like yellow card for the overrun, but okay. So next up, and actually the last present. Ready to go? So we have Dr. Farid Tariq with Addionics from UK. There you go.
Thank you very much. Working okay? Can you hear me? Thank you very much. Damir said that when I'm on the stage, you'll be like I'm Beyonce. I think that's the first and last time I've ever be. Oh, Ed Sheeran. My apologies. It's first and last time I think that comparison will ever happen. Anyway, I'm CTO and co-founder of Addionics. And basically, we produce three-dimensional current collectors for batteries and improving battery performance. And we'll go into it. So the world as it stands right now. Okay. So the world as it stands right now is on the edge of electrification. And one of the key components, key parts of this electrification story is, of course, lithium-ion batteries, which everyone is very familiar with. However, while this is pushing forward a revolution, it's also holding back certain other aspects. One of the things going on with lithium-ion batteries is that they're still limited in terms of their performance and their costs. Basically, you guys out there want more. So one of the things which has been going on for about 30 years is actually the fundamental structure of these batteries hasn't really changed a lot. The architecture is the same. The focus is on chemistry. And there's nothing wrong with that. Chemistry was a thing to pick on and was a thing to improve. However, you can unlock more potential by looking at it holistically and improving as well the physics. And that's what we're doing. We're unlocking the physics as well, and that will help to reduce costs and improve performance. That's what we're about. So that's why I said we're changing the battery architecture with our three-dimensional current collectors, which we can design and fabricate, and I'll show you that, to create high-performance, low-cost batteries for the entire industry. How do we do that? Well, we have our own proprietary manufacturing methods, and we can create these structures. They could be porous, they could have different types of shapes and structures, and that allows the battery industry, the traditional battery industry, to move from its two-dimensional structures to more powerful three-dimensional structures. More powerful, I mean, by being able to unlock more potential. So, for example, you could put more active material into your batteries. You could design them so they have less internal resistance. And what this would translate into your electric vehicle, for example, would be a longer range and quicker charge time. As I said, there's a number of benefits. Because of our method of manufacture, we can also use less aluminium, less copper, one of the expensive components in batteries, and because of this, you save cost. At the same time, we can target and improve power performance attributes. So it could be higher power, faster charging, depends what you're after. And that together provides a unique value proposition where we can actually increase the capacity of manufacture as well as reduce costs. What we produce is a drop-in solution. It's a machine that is compatible and integratable into existing manufacturing processes. We don't want to redesign all of the battery industry and all of the ways in which they're producing batteries right now. We're chemistry agnostic, so it can work with a range of different chemistries. So the other final point is we're also environmentally friendly. So you can produce a structure, for example, which would have a longer lifespan. If it has a longer lifespan, it means you have a lower CO2 footprint across the lifespan of the battery. Or, with regulations coming in everywhere, you can also adapt and change the types of active material that you're using so we can immediately adapt to whatever is coming up in that market. This is one of the machines which we've got. This is the world's first ever smart three-dimensional current collector pilot line anywhere in the world. This is in Israel. We've produced it and we can create our own structures, and you can see there some of the current collectors which we're producing in our cells. But this is also backed behind the scenes with software. So we have our own AI algorithms and optimization software which enable us to design these structures so we can begin to figure out what are the performance attributes we want, what is the kind of cost benefit we would get from this, and target that and produce it. So as a result of all of this altogether, we're in a situation where we have about 7 commercial collaborators which we're working with, 3 of which are in the top 10 automotive manufacturers in the world, and they are integrating our technology into their facilities. As a company, we're very global. We have a presence in a lot of different places. We have presence in Israel, Tel Aviv. We're a UK-based company, actually very close to White City, the old BBC studios. We also have presence in the USA and Europe. It's just the nature of the battery world. It is quite global, and we have a presence there. And we're also backed by some notable investors. Our vision is to integrate our solution into any battery in the world to accelerate electrification and to create a better future for all of us. Thank you very much.
Thanks for that. That's really interesting. I just want to understand that kind of client process. Do they come to you with performance attributes that you then design, or do you license your technology to them and they get to fiddle around with the architecture? or how does it work?
That's a very good question. So what happens is typically they'll come to us. Depends on the client or the automotive manufacturer. They actually have different targets and different things that they're chasing. We're better positioned to be able to advise what would be a good structure or what would be the thing to chase. So they would basically come to us and say, you know, we're producing such and such. We really want to get a particular, I don't know, gravimetric energy density or volumetric energy density, or we really want to work with a particular type of chemistry. What can you do? How much more could we get out of it? And then we can basically use that as a basis to move forward.
Cool. And then do they, you know, you've created this proprietary architecture that this, you know, manufacturer is going to then use. Do you then own that architecture, or do they then, you know, have that particular way? You know, where's the IP ownership in
so
that?
The IP ownership for us, we have ownership in, we have essentially, we're creating an IP portfolio. So we have ownership in the software, of course, which is designing, creating this structure, as well as the machine that you saw. So producing and making those structures. So once it's integrated with them, yes, of course, they can use that cell with us, kind of like Addionics inside, if you like.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of the machine and the ability to fabricate, that's ours. In terms of the software and the ability to design, that's ours.
And in terms of the kind of unit economics compared to kind of a 2D battery, as you kind of call them,
Mm-hmm.
what are we talking, the difference?
So if I can put it this way, you know, if we can, let's say, reduce the copper which is being used, because you can create porous structures, you can create other things, by about 30-40%. You know, in a typical EV, about 40% of your cost comes from the batteries. If you can reduce the copper by this amount, you're looking in a typical car somewhere around about maybe 25-30 kilograms. If you're looking in a bus, it's even more. It could be a few hundred kilograms. And that will translate then into a cost saving in the vehicle. So this is one of the ways in which you can generate the value. And is, you know, we'll work with our partners to basically unlock it in the best way possible.
In terms of manufacturing, though, the costs are higher?
It'll be, our target is the same or less.
Okay, wonderful, thank you.
Thank you. So quick question, in terms of, so you mentioned a potential drop-in business model. So have you done any testing in terms of degradation under different use cases of the overall battery?
Oh, the battery, yes, of course. So we do battery tests in everything that we design and we produce. And we do aging tests. And that's why I was able to say some of the batteries have longer lifespans. And what that, again, translates, as I was saying, is into a lower cost of total ownership. And you have like a three-dimensional metal framework, which basically increases the adhesion capability of that battery. So that translates, like I said, into CO2 footprint cost, cost of ownership. Depends how you want to unlock that pie, I guess.
Right. And then in terms of the 3D electrode, you mentioned this is scalable. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so as I said, you know, you're reducing the metal weight, so you're carrying around less dead weight. You're replacing it with more active materials. You can therefore reduce also inactive content in the batteries. So, you know, you have a few % of binder, you may have a few % of a few other items. You can kick that out. Or, as there has been a move already in the battery industry towards, let's say, cobalt-less or new types of materials, you can also switch and optimize a structure for those materials.
Right. And then what are the challenges you see in terms of scaling up production of the electrodes?
There's a whole heap of different types of challenges in scaling up. So right now, as things stand, you know, we're in TRL level 6, I would say. We're going into 7. What we're really trying to do at the moment is to produce it on a much larger scale. The good thing is that we're seeing a lot of appetite. We're seeing a lot of demand for this. And actually, it's beyond our capacity to kind of supply that demand. And we need to kind of be able to scale that up. So we can produce some of these machines. We need to produce more machines. And we need to figure out, you know, where we're going to place them, how we're going to deploy them. Maybe we need localized supply chains. As I said, this first machine is in Tel Aviv, Israel, right? So is it better to have, you know, a facility immediately next to a production client, basically?
Are there any electrode materials this is going to be incompatible with? Because people are still starting to do carbon, silicon on the anode, cathode, etc. So
That's a good question. It won't be incompatible with any of them because it's using the same materials that batteries use today. So we're modifying and changing the copper and aluminium, which batteries are using.
So it can still use the same coating processes and.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Farid. Strong finish. Amazing. So that's it from everyone. Can I get a big round of applause for everyone who braved the stage? It's not an easy thing to do. We're not done yet. So now we turn to the judges. We're not picking a winner. The winner will be decided during networking and term sheets and all of that. But for now, can we get your overall impression of the day, the people, of the businesses? How do you feel about things? Most of these companies are not in the UK, outside too. Is there a market for them here? Is there an opportunity for investment, not necessarily from you, but from the funding environment?
Firstly, thank you for those people who made the effort to travel to the UK and do this. So thank you. I know it's not easy and it takes a lot of time. I think I've heard it said a few times the last few days, the climate challenge isn't going to be solved by software. Right? And it's on its own. So it's great to see a variety of different technologies being presented. I think there was a really good, clear articulation of the specific problems they were solving and tackling, which is always great to see. And I don't think there's anything necessarily unique about the United Kingdom in terms of the problems and challenges that they all represented. So it's good to see these are global problems with companies who've got the ambition to tackle these globally. So there was a great set of companies here. It's always difficult when there's only 5 minutes to pitch to get that, and here your brain's firing off thinking of a million questions and you got to do it. But I just thought it was great. It was really helpful to see it, and I'm sure there will be some investments coming off the back of it, hopefully. But.
Thank you.
Yeah, so yes, I completely agree with Jonathan on the fact that I love the fact that this is a focus on software, on hardware along with software, because obviously software alone won't solve climate change. I think there were quite a few different. I missed the first part, but in the second one there were quite a few different diverse technologies being presented, which look good. What I really liked was that I think without even asking, a lot of the companies did talk about having gone and spoken to initial customers, already engaging with the market, which I think is so important, and for deep tech as well, just doing it as much as you can and as fast as you can. So I think that looked really good as well. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much to everyone who's pitched. It's really it's pretty nerve-wracking at the top. So thank you for bearing with our questions. Yeah, just like to echo what both my colleagues here have said, that that there are some really good innovative ideas being generated, and I think the UK market, we are just three of a much wider climate here of investors. And the general UK climate for investment is a really strong one, and certainly worth looking to come over and seek investment here. I think one of the things that we very much like to see as investors, particularly in the UK, I think is an understanding of your market, your competitors, your USPs in those markets, and yeah, be flexible on valuation when we offer term sheets. Yeah, that's about it from me, but thank you.
Cool. I mean, lots of positive comments. Is this English politeness at play, or will you share some of the more honest ones during the networking? But I think it's always good to get some constructive feedback. But hopefully, I mean, it's a good sign that obviously there's a place for these companies here, and obviously, as you said, solving the big picture problems. I'm no expert, but from the variety of technologies that we've seen, if we don't reach targets, net zero, whatever those might be, it won't be for the lack of ideas. It won't be for the lack of brain power and innovation. So let's see where we get to. With that, I'll conclude, but you can't release you yet, if you don't mind, because we will have a networking event in this space, and I'll invite you to announce it. But before we do that, I want to thank anyone and everyone who participated on the actual bootcamp, not just on the panel pitch today. For those who are joining us from outside, we had a whole week of trainings to get to a place where hopefully this came out really, really well, and I think it did. So thank you for joining us. Thank you for taking the trip. Thank you for the judges, for the panelists, for the supporters. I'm not going to name you all, but quite a long list of different companies that have supported us. Octopus Ventures, obviously, Clean Growth Tech, Clean Growth Fund, Green Angel Syndicate, and a number of others. So you can mingle with them once we set up the networking event. But I think this is also a good opportunity to maybe get a photo op in. So I would invite maybe the startups to join us here with the judges, if you don't mind, and we take one photo, if that's okay. At least the ones that have stayed here. So please, come on, don't be shy. Don't be shy. It's going to get some great clicks on LinkedIn, so come on. Come on.